Hey guys, welcome to another great episode of the Boston Chris podcast. And this week we have Grammy Award nominating songwriter Tim James on the show. Tim James is an award winning songwriter from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, having written standards such as My List, which was a 5-week #1 for Toby Keith, Give It All We Got Tonight by George Strait, Love Like Crazy by Lee Brice and others. Tim James has seen the music industry from the inside out for better and worse in richer and poorer times. We are so excited to be chatting with Tim James today about so much. Just an incredibly in-depth and candid interview with Mr. Tim James. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you click that like button right down there wherever you are watching or listening. Please hit that like button. It really helps us do more. And of course, if you want to see more incredible conversations in the future, you can click that subscribe button completely free or follow button wherever you are. But without further ado, let's get into our conversation with the one and only Tim James.
It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
Hey, this is Mark Irwin. Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.
Hey y'all, Boston Chris back again with another fabulous episode of the Boston Chris podcast. And man, we got a huge treat for y'all out there. We have hit songwriter Mr. Tim James on the show today. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing okay, Chris. As you and I just talked about, I could say that I'm doing great, but
Yeah.
no, I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, it's never
can't-
quite great, is it?
Can't complain, can't brag.
Right. Yeah, I like that. So I have a bit of an icebreaker question just to get us off on the right foot. What are your favorite drinks right now? Alcoholic or not?
Let's see. You know what I've been drinking lately? I'll drink like a reposado tequila with soda water and like some lemons, 2 or 3 lemons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. Outside of that, man, I'm primarily like a water guy. Water or alcohol, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, do you flavor your water or just like straight?
Most of the time, just straight.
Yeah, see, I can't do that, man. I for some reason it's just boring to me. So like, I have to put some of those drink mixes in there every once in a while.
Yeah, most of my friends put that stuff in there, but I try just to, stay to water. And I like to be honest with you, I like last night I had some raw fish and I had a Kieran Ichiban, which I love. But
Yeah, that sounds great. Awesome stuff. All right, yeah, that's part of my theme song, so I always ask that question. Plus, it's kind of a icebreaker. I find it interesting that you grew up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, so you were kind of right there in the epicenter of all the music right from the start, weren't you?
I was, I tell people all the time, I did not, in those days, even though I had 2 brothers, and they both are super musical. My parents just, my dad would pick a little bit and sing some, but he was not any sort of aficionado by any means. But I did not really like country music, if you will. When I was growing up, it was Haggard and Jones, and you come to appreciate that as you get older.
Yeah.
But in those days, being 25 miles from Nashville, I did not want to really, listen or write country music. And, I never wrote until I was in my 30s.
Right.
But yeah, man, growing up here, no, it didn't strike a chord with me. I was talking to somebody the other day, like one of my biggest influences were like Al Green or, I love Earth, Wind and Fire. I've seen them like 5 times. But when I moved to LA and I started writing, because I grew up in a small town and I actually grew up on a farm for a few years, the lyrics that came out of my mouth just naturally were small town lyrics. So
Yeah, and speaking of LA, you got there like 23, so like prior to that, you're still in Tennessee, I'm assuming. Um, you mentioned that you got a late start in music, and I'm really excited to chat with you about that because I find that interesting. But like prior to moving to Los Angeles, what was the musical memories like? Because you weren't really following or even pursuing it at that point, right?
no, man, I really did not have I didn't know. I loved music, but everybody loved music. I wrote, looking back years later, I realized, I wrote poems and things probably in my teens or, maybe early 20s. But I got to watch my dog. Scout, come here. Um, I wrote poems and things, but then when I got to LA, I still did not pursue music, man. I was in sales, various different types of sales. Um, Eventually landed in pharmaceutical sales without a college degree. The guy said, "Do you have a degree?" And I said, "I have a BS."
Yeah.
um, but I sold Robitussin for A.H. Robbins for a few years before I eventually just went, man, I am not getting any younger, and I need to do what I want to do, which is music. So that's what I did.
So what was the motivation for you to move from Tennessee to Los Angeles?
Man, in the name of transparency, I was striking out. Like I played small college basketball, even though I'm short. But well, I mean, I'm not short, but I loved basketball. I played yesterday and thought, oh my gosh, it's going to take me a month to get over it. But I played, and then I came back to college here in my hometown of Murfreesboro, and I went to MTSU and flunked out. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, man. And I'm one of those people that believes everybody needs to get away from their home and their hometown. So I ran into a guy that lived in Murfreesboro. That was from Murfreesboro that lived in LA. And I was like, man, what's it like out there? My allergies are kicking in. And he said, man, I live 8 blocks from the beach and the sun shines 350 days out of the year and the
Yeah.
girls are. And I was like, whoo. So, having never been on a plane at 23, I saved my money from working a part-time job or something, and got on a plane and went out there with the intent of staying 6 months and stayed 12 years.
Wow. So it's just throw caution to the wind and away you went, huh?
Yeah, yeah, man. I definitely, even when in my book, which we'll talk about, I talk about, like, flying in when the captain said, you know, fasten your seatbelts. We're starting our descent into LA. And I remember looking around and thinking, seeing the Pacific sort of glistening in the distance and the Hollywood sign. And I just thought, man, this place feels different to me. It is a town I would suggest to people that, certainly in those days and probably now too, and Nashville's become this way. It's a town of dreamers, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
people go out there with, whether it's acting, writing, singing, doesn't matter, directing. People go out there with dreams, and the guys that I fortunately fell in with all through basketball were all like comedians, well-known comics and actors and musicians. And although I never discussed it with them until 4 or 5 years after I'd known them, they were sort of instrumental in me trying it, because their mentality was like, man, why wouldn't you do what you want to do? Like, life is short. And again, in LA, now some of those guys have gone on to be super, super globally successful, and some probably ended up broke or selling insurance. So it wasn't whether they made it or not. It was, that you've got to try it.
Yeah.
If you want it to happen, you got to give it a shot.
Well, speaking of dreams, like prior to even going to LA as a youngster, what was the dream? What did you want to be when you grew up?
That's what I mean. I wanted to play basketball. That's all I wanted to do. But I didn't know, man. I just did not know. My dad was just a working class guy. My mom was a housewife. My brother worked at a factory. My other brother was a nurse. Like, I just didn't know. I just knew that had, I didn't really feel like I necessarily fit in to small town America at that point in my life. At this point in my life, I love it. But in those days, I just had a bit of a different mindset. So again, going to LA seemed like the logical step.
Yeah, I find it interesting that where your story ends up, and right back in Nashville and a successful country hit songwriter, that you had to go to L.A. to kind of understand that that's where your path was ultimately going to lead you. So, from reading, researching you, I understand you were in Los Angeles until mid-30s. Is it true that it was your ex-wife that kind of turned you on to pursuing songwriting more seriously?
Yeah, man, I would say my first Mulligan wife. She was an actress, and again, all of my friends were in the entertainment world. But she was one of the first people that said, you're really good at this. I don't know why you're not trying to do it for a living. And again, going back to childhood, uh, nobody ever told me you could do it for a living. I'm sort of like, Stapleton and I have written a ton of songs, and he used to say in the interviews he's done, he would say, "Man, I didn't even know this was a job."
Yeah,
And that's kind of me. Like, I didn't know it was a job. What little I did know about it, that my parents would sort of repeat from what they'd seen on the news, was George Jones getting drunk, driving a lawnmower down the interstate and stuff like that. So, it just wasn't something that my family or anybody went, "Oh, wow, you could do this." And again, I never expressed to them, it's not their fault. I never said, like, "Oh, this is what I want to do." But back to your question, my first wife was the first person that said, "Yeah, you're good at this." So I put a band together, having never been on stage with a band, and man, we were a cover band, and we were playing. I remember the very first song I ever played with a band was "Liza Jane" by Vince Gill.
wow.
And man, right before I went on, I was like, I could feel my throat tightening up, and it was dry. I thought, "Oh gosh, I can't sing." And the lead guitar guy said, "Man, it's just stage fright." I mean, I'm 35 years old, never been on a stage like that. Of course, he said, "Just drink a shot of whiskey and go do it," which I did, and it went great. But that was kind of the moment when I said, it gets its hooks in you.
Hmm.
And at that point, when I finished that show that night, I thought, well, this is it. So I might as well just hunker down for the ride. Not that I haven't had moments in my 20, 30-year career where I go, "Man, I think I might just do something else." Ultimately, Charlie Monk, who was a Music Row executive for 50 years, Charlie used to say, "Whether you do this for a living or whether you just do it to satisfy your own need, you're still going to do it."
Hmm. Yeah.
So I figured, hey, I might as well just keep doing it.
So, like, prior to the first band and your first Mulligan wife, kind of pushing you towards this, kind of what were you doing? Were you writing lyrics? Were you learning guitar? Like, how did all that take shape?
Yeah. Um, Prior to that, probably a couple years prior to that, I was still working in the pharmaceutical world, and I bought a guitar, like just a piece of junk at I want to say at a yard sale or something in the Valley in LA, and I taught myself to play. And again, if I'm being super honest, I would listen once I realized that what I wanted to write was small town stuff. I would listen to, I remember the first Radney Foster record, and I went,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's it. That's what I want to do." Or even a John Mellencamp album, small town stuff. And so, yeah, man, I got a guitar. I learned how to play, and then I would just. It was very difficult for me because I had such a late start to put music to the words I'd written, because I could write lyrics, I felt like, all day long. But eventually I would listen to, Randy Foster. I would listen to early Garth records, and I would just think, man, that's so good. And I would learn from all of that stuff. And then I went to NSAI meetings in LA and met some people there. And next thing you know, you're co-writing, and you just learn the process. Now, I always say the same thing, you know, if you don't have an innate talent, um, you could work at this until the cows come home.
Yeah.
It's just like playing major league sports. I mean, I could practice when I was in my 20s. I could have practiced forever. I could dunk a volleyball at 5'11". That didn't matter. I got to a D1 college and went,
Yeah.
these guys are out of my league. So I know so many people that are songwriters. Some are friends of mine, and they never had that inherent ability, and they got better. But man, this is the major leagues, as you know. Like, down here, you got to bring it, and you're competing against guys that are the best of the best.
Yeah. I love that. And so I'm curious, when you do decide to move back to Tennessee, I think it was around the age of 37, is that kind of a caution to the wind kind of thing too? Just pack up and go?
No. My Mulligan wife and I divorced, and I always wanted to come back home. I never wanted to stay in LA forever. And it felt like, that was the time. Like, I thought, okay, we're divorcing. We lived in Santa Monica. You could see the ocean. But I just thought this is the time for me to go back to Tennessee. And I had been making trips back here.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, it was a struggle. That's all. Cause everybody that I know has been through the struggle. For me, I would drive my dad's old piece of junk car into Nashville and, write with these guys, trying to sponge everything I could, anybody, anytime, and go to, writers' nights. And honestly, man, I would sit there and go, I'm so far behind the curve. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because these people in their 30s are knocking the bottom out of it.
Right.
And they're so much better than me. So Charlie Monk, again, I had one meeting with him. This was in my late 30s, and I think I was still living, I was in LA. And I had a mullet and a vest. I looked like, instead of Billy Ray Cyrus, I looked like Timmy Ray Virus, my sister called him. And I went in for a meeting with him, and dude, he just raked me over the coals.
Yeah.
And his point was, and I'll never forget it, he passed away, but he was a great man. He said, I played him my, 3 songs. And he said, all right, it's May. How many songs have you written this year? And I said, I don't know, 6. And he said, okay. He said, I've got Don Schlitz and Fred Knobloch in the next room. And
Wow.
This is May, and they're on their 50th. So his point was, one, and he said it. He said, if you want to be on stage, go to New York. If you want to be in a movie, stay in LA. But if you want to write songs, you got to bring your butt back to Nashville. So there you go.
I love that. I was going to ask if that was kind of the motivation, that you wanted to be a songwriter and rather than an artist or the other options that the music business gives you. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could be within the business. But I know when you did get back to Nashville or the Tennessee area, that you did get a publishing deal with a company that ended up folding after a year and a half. As a self-described, self-taught musician and writer, what are you learning in this year and a half in that first publishing deal before it kind of goes awry?
That I was not very good.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, ironically enough, that publishing deal was with Don Schlitz's company.
Okay.
And, man, I when I moved back, like I said, I eventually, when I moved back, we got divorced, and I was painting houses. So I painted houses for my cousin. I would paint like Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and then I would write Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And that allowed me, which I've always been grateful to my cousin, for allowing me to pay the bills while I still pursued writing songs. But yeah, man, I would go up there and write on those days. Then I met with a guy named Bob Beckham who ran a company called Combine, and they had Chris Christopherson and man, I went in for my first meeting there, and again, I was overwhelmed. But uh, Bob Beckham, who was a legend here, said, "Man, you have talent. You definitely have talent." And that was definitely made me go, if that dude says it, then there's something to it. And then I joined ASCAP, and my friend Chris Dubois was a member services rep at ASCAP, and he listened to 5 songs of mine, and just during that, right before that year and a half period started, and he just said, "Dude, you're very talented." He sent me to a girl that was running Hayes Street Music, and 2 or 3 meetings later, she said, "I want to sign you." Well, they sign you for 15 grand in those
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And she wanted to sign me, but man, dude, I mean, when somebody says that to you, and you're basically a paid songwriter now, you go, "Whoo-hoo."
Yeah.
And so I was there a year and a half when they decided they were going to close up shop. And yeah, man, talk about come to Jesus with Jesus. I was like, making 15 grand a year. I got one cut, and it was Tim Rushlow, who was in Little Texas,
Yep.
was doing a independent record, a solo record. So he cut a song of mine, and but still broke, man, just dead broke, and was painting houses. And then one night, I'd become friends with Chris and Frank Rogers, who ended up producing all of Brad Paisley and Darius Rucker's records, and Jim Catino and some other guys that their parents were in the business and so forth and so on. And those guys, I was without a deal, and they asked me to go to a Titans game. And I said, heck yeah. So I went, and we used to go in the back of the old EMI parking lot and sit there and drink beer. And we're sitting there drinking one night, and one of them said, Jim Catino said, "Man, I know, what do you do?" Because I didn't even know him. And I said, "Well, I'm trying to be a songwriter, but everybody else is too." And he said, "Well," just very casually, "I know somebody who's looking to sign writers." And I said, "Who?" And he said, "TK Kimbrell, Toby Keith's manager, and Toby are starting a company. And there's a guy named Rob Hendon who's going to head it up." Well, he gave me his number, man, and I reached out to him, boom, the next day. And then I had 2 or 3 meetings with him. And then he called me and said, "Hey, man, Toby wants you to get a lawyer." And I'm thinking, well, what did I do? I've been in jail before. Surely I don't need a lawyer. And he said, "No, man, they want you to, sign here." So, man, I signed that deal for the same amount of money, honestly, Chris, like minimal. But it was the smartest move I ever made because, I was there for 2 months, and I don't know, the hand of fate, whatever you want to call it. Toby came in and said, "Man, I'm going to make a record, and I'm going to cut, one of these songs," because he wrote most of his songs. And they had 3 writers, me and 2 other guys. And the other guys had not signed their contract because the ink wasn't dry, and they were still caught up in legal land. And me, dude, I just went, "No, I don't really care what this deal. You're paying me. You can recoup. It doesn't matter to me." So I signed it. Well, that turned out to be the best thing I ever did, because when Toby came in and said, "I want to cut some songs," he legally only had my songs to choose from.
Yeah.
And Rand Bishop and I had
Well, that's a
written,
score.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a woohoo.
Yeah.
Rand Bishop and I had written my list, and it was on my Schedule A, which are songs you bring into the deal. And he just, said, "Well, I'm going to cut that song." And that's a game changer, dude.
Yeah, I got a few questions about the impetus for this, because I'm a huge songwriting nerd. I love songwriters, and Toby Keith is a phenomenal songwriter. Not to mention, he's already got this collaboration with Scotty, right? Like, I mean, him and Scotty are kind of a thing, right? They're a marriage already. So for him to kind of cut a song of yours, you're a brand new songwriter at this point, really. I mean, you're just getting known. That has to be pretty validating to you, right?
Oh, man. I mean, like, that's what I mean. It was at that point, and probably still 22 years later, that was the biggest thing that could ever happen to
Yeah.
me, because you're right, he wrote most of his songs. This was actually just before he met Scotty,
Okay.
but he he came in, and when he said, "I'm going to cut that song," then they tracked it and he sang it. It sounded great. Oddly enough, Scott Borchetta was head of promotions at DreamWorks. Toby was on DreamWorks.
Okay.
And after they put out I Want to Talk About Me, and then they put out I'm Just Talking About Tonight, two back-to-back number ones, he's starting to catch fire. 9/11 happened. And Borchetta said, man, if you want to put out a song that would resonate with people at this stage of the game, put out that My List song. And he did, and it went number one for 5 weeks, and it's been on like 11 million albums now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And just an incredible story too of how all of that happened. I love to hear when like a songwriting artist like picks a song from a songwriter, right? Like I just love that. It's just like when Dolly Parton chooses another writer's song, or Willie, or somebody, just a phenomenal writer in their own right. The surrealness of that just has to be crazy for the songwriter. Tell us about writing My List a little bit and how that came to be. How long did the song sit around before Toby found it?
Not long at all. The way it came about was my dad, who since passed away, had a heart attack. And I remember going to the hospital and thinking, man, because I was a list guy. Like, one of my good buddies would always write down this list. And I started thinking, man, I can't get crap done because I can never remember it. So I started writing my list. Every morning I would write out my list. And then when my dad was in the hospital, I remember thinking, my list is just jacked up. Like, I don't really care about if I get this done or that done anymore. All I'm going to do is spend time with my dad. And so I think Rand Bishop and I had written a couple of songs. And then I just went in one day and said, man, I want to write a song about my list and how, it's all just kind of messed up. And I want it to be about the more important things. And Rand, who is crazy talented, played that little burn, 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 burn. And he just came up with that. And then, we just wrote it. And if you think about it, it's relatively simple. I say all the time. It's like, in those days, you would say, under a paperweight is my list. What about what's on my list? Go to the bank, hardware store, you know what I mean? Cross them off. And that's the song. That's it.
So, I mean, at this point in time, you got to be top of the world. I think this was a 5-week number one, which is crazy. I mean, just crazy. Just to have a number one is nuts. So, but then, like, when it's multiple week number one, now you're into like rarefied air, I feel, right? So, I always find it interesting for a songwriter. Like, it's one of the hardest things to be successful at, because when you finally find success, for you, it's with My List. Now, obviously, you want to be successful again, but you can't write the same song a second time. So, like, what's it like now trying to find that second success? Like, are you right back at it, or are you kind of living the song first before you move on to the next, or what?
You mean in those days?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, dude. I think the day after the number one party, I was back at it.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to all the older guys ahead of me who said, one, it's an everyday job, and two, now some people don't see it that way, but a lot of the guys I did wrote with, they did. And two, man, I thought, having been in sales, I thought you have to strike while the coals are hot. And so I wrote every day. And then, I ended up with shortly, I got signed to, Toby closed that company after, I want to say, like 2 years. But I got signed pretty quick to a company called Windswept Pacific. Mm-hmm. And then I was there for 3 years, and I had 8 or 10 cuts. I had a top 10 on a guy named Bucky Covington. And then I had a top 10 on Trace Adkins called All I Ask For Anymore. So at this point, I'm starting to go, okay, man, this is not just validating. I actually think I'm decent at this. Although my friend Steve Bogart said every time he gets a hit, he goes, well, I fooled him again.
Yep.
But I think the imposter syndrome is very real. However, at that point, man, I was like getting set up with A writers, and, they were like, hey, this guy, even though he came late to the game, is good. So, man, it was good. Then I went from there, I want to say, to Warner Chappell. And again, I think I was there 4 years and I had 5 singles. You know,
Mm.
I probably had 25 cuts. I mean, I'm getting cuts, but I had um, it only went like top 20, I think, but still on Rodney Atkins. And then I had Love Like Crazy on Lee Bryce. And then I had Give It All We Got Tonight with Straight. Um, and it, you know, at that point, man, I was an established name. I still went at it every day. I mean, I would not do it. That's not entirely true, but I still wrote a ton. And I'm still signed, and I'm still getting. I mean, I got one on Chesney's new record, and I got one on Stapleton's new record, and one on George Strait's new record. So it doesn't suck.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. Just that first hit though, does that like get you into more rooms? You mentioned being kind of more established now. Like people know your name now a little bit more, and are they inviting you into these rooms more often now because of that?
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
You know, you're only as good as your last meal cooked, and you know when you have a 5 week #1 song, you go from being nobody.
yeah,
I mean, dude, when I say nobody, I mean nobody. To all of a sudden, people go, well, he must have something. Whether that's really accurate or not, I don't know.
yeah.
I just know that again, hype is a part of the deal. So the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is once you get a hit, is to capitalize on it. And I always try to ride that wave.
What was your favorite song that ever got recorded?
Love Like Crazy is definitely like top two. I wrote a song, my buddy Rivers Rutherford, who's in the Hall of Fame, and I, wrote a song with Darius Rucker called So I Sang, and it's on the album called Southern Style, which Rivers and Darius and I also wrote that, the title track. The album didn't do anything, man, which is super unfortunate, but it is what it is. Um, but that song is one of my favorite songs. It was the song that I started after my dad passed away. Like, why am I doing this? And then I realized, like, even though I played sports, I was like, man, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the smartest, I'm never going to be a doctor or a CEO. So I sang, and
Yeah,
that's what I did, you know. And I still, I still love the process. I don't know that I love the business as much as I did, but that's just part of getting older, man.
yeah, of course. So you mentioned imposter syndrome. This is something we talk a lot about on this show. It's a common thing in the creative business, as I'm sure you know. Um, as you're having more success, more cuts, more singles, you've got #1s, you've got Grammy nomination, and all of this other stuff. The imposter syndrome's still there, isn't it? It still hangs around, even with all the success.
Oh man, I mean, to this day,
Yeah,
like I still have days where I go, I just don't know, man. I don't know. Excuse me, but I mean, I wrote a couple times last week with some younger people, and they were just like, "Man, you are so good at this." And in that moment, to be honest with you, I go, "Yeah, I do. I know what I'm doing." But I think the ultimate validation in any job is to be successful. And the way that I am deemed to be successful or not is only if somebody else makes the decision to make me successful.
right.
In other words, I have to have an A&R person go, "Oh my gosh, I love this," and then they have to go to a A&R staff meeting and go, "Oh, they love it." Then they have to go to the artist. Like my friend that's in A&R said, "Hey man, I'm nothing more than a glorified song plugger because I have to go to artist and then go, 'Oh my gosh, you have to hear this.'" So yeah, man, I definitely at this stage of the game, I do feel like, yeah, I'm good at it. Um, uh, and again, I'm still miraculously, I would say, getting cuts. Um, and I'm, you know, I'm going to keep doing it as long as they let me.
Yeah, and this leads me into the book, which I'm hoping I can pick up a copy of from you. It's called "Going Crazy: Left Foot, Right Foot, Breathe," and this is essentially your response to that imposter syndrome, right? Left foot, right foot, breathe. You tell yourself that a lot
Every day.
every day, right?
Um, man, let's see. Yes, I have been through 2 divorces. The first one certainly was justified. The second one, I don't know to this day, but that's not to be a part of the show. I lost my older brother 2.5 years ago, two of my best friends in the last 5 years. So I started writing that, Chris, when about 8 years ago, when life was great.
Yeah.
Like I had 2 daughters. I still have 2 daughters. And we lived out in the country on this beautiful place. And I was like, man, this life has turned out to be just so freaking good. It's amazing. And I started writing it just to say, like, if you stay the course, you too can do this. And I just told my story. My story has a lot of different twists and turns. It's not just, pharmaceutical sales to songwriting. There's a ton of different things, quit college, kicked out of college, go to LA. When I got to LA, I got mugged like severely. So I had 12 stitches from here to here.
Wow.
I had my jaw wired shut for 20 weeks. I had stitches in my chin. So, getting over that, past the PTSD of that, and then losing, brother, and then yada, yada, yada. So what I started doing with that book was just writing, because work begets work. So I'm just writing they're very short chapters, as not to bore the listener. And man, I would just write a chapter at night. And then I started doing it. And the more I did it, the more I went, yeah, I think I'll noodle on that tonight.
Yeah.
So it really runs the gamut from me like saying, this is my story and this is how I got started. And this is when I went to college and then I got in trouble and then I went to LA. And then it actually goes back through, to post-divorce the second time, which has been 5 years ago, and my brother, and so forth and so on. So the title stemmed from me saying to myself, there's times I think we all, especially creatives, feel like we're going crazy.
Yeah.
And my buddy that lives in Atlanta, I was talking to him one night and he just said, brother, all I got for you is left foot, right foot, breathe. And that was 7-8 years ago. And so when I wrote it and I decided that would be the title, I thought the subtitle should also be redeeming in some way, which is, just keep going, man. And it's not easy, dude. I don't care what anybody says. It's nothing about it is easy. As you and I discussed prior to going on the air, elderly parents. And I mean, dude, it's a struggle. Now, again, I would always say, I'm happy to be here. I mean, I ain't mad about that.
Yeah.
But I don't, not everybody has that, life where they go to college and then get out and have kids and grandkids, which that's, at my age, everybody, dude, everybody. And my kids are 20 and 16. So I just kept writing it. And yeah, I sent it to a lady in New York. I got in touch with her through a friend of a friend. And she was like, man, I love this. We sort of co-published it together, but it's really addresses mental health, men's mental health.
So was the kind of the motivation behind the book was to help people? Because I'm just curious, with somebody with imposter syndrome, and I suffer from it really bad at times, I would imagine it would be really hard to kind of take that step to put your life story out there.
Yeah. I mean, my own family was like, what in the heck?
Yeah.
And I just got grief about it a couple of weeks ago from somebody. But man, as a writer, all you can do is tell your truth.
Yeah.
And if it's not a lie, then you have to tell your truth. So I would in no way, nor did I in my book, ridicule anybody from my past. I really ridiculed myself more than anybody.
Yeah.
Because we all make bad choices. But again, I have a friend who not long ago was going through a rough time, and I was like, listen, your goal for tonight is to make it through tonight, and in the morning is to put your feet on the floor and just left foot, right foot, breathe. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Get through the night, get through the day. The idea that every day is woohoo and sunshine and rainbows is total BS. So my take on it, and I can't say haven't been through it lately, where I have to remind myself, get up and go.
Yeah, I mean, it's the hardest part of every day for me, just trying to get myself out of bed and moving. being productive, right? Because like if you're not productive, then you beat yourself up for not being productive. But like just starting your day to be productive, it's like that's a battle in itself. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man.
It's just so
I, I
rough.
I say in my book, Chris, and I'm a huge advocate of exercise. That's what sort of kept me from going. I would say probably going off the rails. I don't. I'm not saying I don't drink. I may drink tonight, but I don't drink a ton. But exercise is my. That's really the time where I feel free of this.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. See, I have that. For me, it's music. Just listening to music kind of takes me away from that. I want to let people know. We'll get into it a little bit more in a few minutes, but thetimjames.com, best place to get the book. It's right there. As soon as you click in there, there's a link right in the front there to buy it. So make sure you guys check that out. It's called Going Crazy, Left Foot, Right Foot, Breathe. And there's an incredible foreword on there by by Toby Keith as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite Tim James song, and it's funny you haven't mentioned it yet, so this might surprise you a little bit. And that is "Good People" by Jeff Bates. I love this tune. I got to meet Jeff Bates when I was a lot younger, which is probably why I love this song so much. Tell us the story behind this one came to be.
Um, Man, my friend Kendall Marvel and I wrote that song, and Kendall's a super talented writer, and uh, because I come from my mom comes from, my mom's one of 10, my dad was one of 11, so my mom had all these I had all these cousins, and my mom's, nieces and nephews, etc., and my cousins in the South, you could mess up, it doesn't matter. I don't give a crap if you get thrown in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Your family, my family's still going to go, well, deep down, they're good people.
Yep.
And I have to go, sometimes I don't know if they are or not, Mom. But
Yeah.
One of my cousins, I think he did, a little time in the pokey. And so I was writing with Kendall, and I just was telling him about it, like how my mom would always say, they're good people. So that's the first verse. My cousin Bobby's on the county road picking up trash for the car he stole. You see him in them orange clothes, you swear he's evil.
Yeah.
So that was just another, like, we just wrote it. And then I can't remember if I think I did. I played it for a girl named Caroline Mobley, who was at RCA. And she just said, I love, love, love this. And again, you talk about imposter syndrome and the trials and tribulations of music. Dude, they cut that song. It sounded like a smash. They have a thing every year called CRS, which is Country Radio Seminar, which you're aware of. And the whole promotions department at RCA dressed up in like Department of Corrections orange jumpsuits.
Wow.
And dude, they did a full-on like promotion show. They put the song out. The song is moving up the charts. After 14, 15 weeks, it's gone. Jeff got in some, trouble. And, I always say when I'm playing shows, like, if you're in hip hop, that may be good. In country music, that's
No,
no good.
not quite as good, no. Unless you're Morgan Wallen, right?
Seemed to work to his advantage. But
It
no,
seems to work out for him, yeah.
I love that song, but that song really never, dude, that song made nothing. I mean, and it was a cool, fun song, but that's just you talk about being deflated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you say to yourself, okay, I did the best I knew how to do. I think I did it good enough that I got the validation that somebody else went, oh, this is really good. So much so that they spent money recording it and spent money for a show, and then for it to just,
Yeah.
very
It's
good.
just so circumstantial, isn't it?
Totally is.
Yeah. Man.
That's
Okay,
all right.
yeah, these are quick ones that I use for TikTok, so, I mean, they should go pretty quick. The first one's called Did You Know? Can you tell us something your fans may not know about you?
I was in a movie.
Oh, yeah? Which one?
Can't tell you. I'd have to kill you.
Oh, man. All right, next one's called Mount Rushmore. Who are the 4 people on your Mount Rushmore of songwriting?
I would have said years ago that they're now my friends. Probably Rivers Rutherford, Brett James. These guys are Hall of Fame writers that are now good friends of mine. But man, I remember starting out thinking, gosh, I'd kill to write with those guys. And now we write Brett and I and Danny Myrick have one on the new Kenny Chesney record. Brett and I have another one in the can. Nowadays, to be honest with you, man, I don't know. I don't think I have it. I'm at the latter stages of it, so I don't really look at anybody younger and go, man. And I've written songs with 40 songs with Stapleton. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, wow, 40 songs. Chris Stapleton's another example of just an iconic songwriter. So, like, when he chooses the song of somebody else, that's impressive in my opinion. All right, next one's called What the Heck? These are just 5 rapid-fire questions. Just tell me the first thing that hits your head. Who is your hero?
My dad.
All right, number 2, are you more of a hunter or a gatherer?
Gatherer.
What do you think cats dream about?
Dogs.
Really? That'd be a nightmare. All right, number 4, what are you most afraid of?
Death.
And number 5, what is your best curse word alternative?
Dude, I'm a huge cusser, so I don't have alternatives.
No alternatives. All right.
Freaking.
All right. Next one's called One Artist. Who is one artist you wish the whole world knew about?
I wish the world knew more about Dan Fogelberg.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Another great songwriter.
Yeah.
All right, so what's still on your wish list of things to do?
Well, man, you alluded to this earlier. Like, it's almost a never-ending hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Because you never retire. You still do it, but it's still I would say you need validation and you need proof that you're still good at it and you're still and the way that happens is you're getting cuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still getting them. I have days where I go, I should just do something else. But I say that, and I keep a little gut string guitar right by my chair. And literally yesterday, I picked it up and thought, "Oh, that's a cool melody," and then I started writing something. So it's not necessarily, even though you make these appointments and you go write a song, there's a lot of days that I just, like Charlie Monk said, you're going to do it whether you get paid for it or not.
Yeah. And it beats painting houses, don't it?
You're dang right it does.
All right, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from music?
That it is the only thing that unites people.
Okay. I like that. All right, next one's called Moment of Gravity. This should be interesting since you got kind of a late start. Obviously, you're a successful hit songwriter, in my opinion. What was that moment in time that you kind of can draw your path back towards? Like something happened that put you on this path where you ended up. Do you know what that was?
Probably, I told you I'd never been on stage with a band, but I had my roommate in LA was a writer, a screenwriter, playwright. He went on to be incredibly successful, but he came in one night and said, "Hey, I want you to be audition for my play." And I was like, "Dude, you realize I'm not an actor." And he was like, "Look, the guy's from the South and he drinks beer and chases girls, just be yourself." And I was like, "That's not a compliment." But I went and I read for it. And he came home and he said, "They loved you." So I got the understudy to the lead, which this is in my book. He said, "Hey, man, you're the understudy." And he's happy and excited for me. And I'm going, "What the heck is an understudy?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "If we fire the lead guy, you go on." So, dude, a week later, they fire him. And he says, it's like a Thursday. And he said, "Well, you go on Sunday, matinee." And I was like, "Gotta be kidding." So I did, but I vividly remember, again, that feeling of this.
Yeah.
And I asked him years later, and again, he's very successful. I asked him, "Do you tire of that? Or do you enjoy that?" And he said, "Who doesn't like adoration?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. What are the 3 things you are most grateful for, Tim?
My children, for sure. My dogs. I'm surprised. Yep, one of them heard that and got up. My dogs and my health.
I love that. All right, last one is called "Who Do You Think You Are?" Who is Tim James?
I have no idea. Man, I'm a dreamer. You know, obviously, I
Yeah.
chased this late in the game. 2, I'm a fighter. Like you know, today, I mean, I just have moments where I realize I have to get up. Like, there's things I went to see my mom today, but I'm a dreamer, I'm a fighter, and I'm an empath.
Wow, that's quite a combination.
It is. Those
Yeah.
two might contradict each other, but not to me.
Just a little bit, but no, I get it because I think my wife is the same way. She's the biggest empath I've ever met, and she's a survivor and a fighter, and I get it. Yeah, completely. Guys, it's Tim James, the one and only incredible songwriter here on the show. Again, if you're wanting to follow along with him, the website is thetimjames.com. That'll be in the description down below. Dang cat. Yeah, that'll be in the description below. We'll also put a link down there so you guys can purchase the book if you want to. And also, if you want to follow along with Tim every single day, go to his Instagram. It is Timothy James 2182 over there. Click the follow button. He's semi-regular over there from what I can tell. And he's also got a Facebook as well where you can follow at Tim James. Tim, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me, Chris. And should you not be able to, if the website has trouble, you can go to Amazon and buy it on Amazon. But are you in Boston?
I'm actually in East Texas.
Oh, get out. For some
Yeah.
reason, I thought,
Well, I mean, that's my nickname. That's because when I got here, I talked funny, so everybody called me Boston.
are you from Boston?
I am originally, yeah.
I'll tell you a quick funny story and I'll let you go, but
Sure.
because I have to go too. My first Mulligan wife was doing a play at the North Shore Theater outside of Boston. So I flew from LA to Boston, and because I'm a basketball guy, I said, "Hey, I'm going to go to the Boston Garden." And she was like, "Okay, great, we'll go tomorrow." So we get up the next day in the rental car, and we pull up, and these gates open, and all of a sudden I realized we're at an arboretum, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I said the Boston Garden, not the Boston. So instead of going, we saw plants instead of the parquet floor.
Yeah, so yeah, I used to have to tell my wife that what khakis mean down south is a little bit different. Like khakis down south is a pair of pants. Up north, that's what you start your car with.
Khakis.
Yeah,
All
that's
right, man, I
right.
appreciate you having me.
Hey, this is Marla Cannon Goodman, and thank you for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.